And I know everyone in our community is dealing with one of two things. They're either dealing with how will my kids survive when I'm gone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or they're saying, how will I survive without my kid?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were put in an extraordinary circumstance where I'm sure that, let me ask you this. When they told you about the NKH diagnosis, did they tell you that the life expectancy was 3 to 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Right then? So you already felt like, this could happen any day. And you've been carrying that ever since. That's incredible, Julie. I
That's
can't,
hard.
I can't wrap my head around it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's a lot, but to tell you the truth, our kids got diagnosed on my birthday on a Zoom call.
Jeez.
And both of my husband and I walked away that day with peace. Because of what you had just mentioned, the thing that kept my husband awake at night is who's going to care for them if we aren't here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we are just really strong in our faith, we're not afraid of our kids to die. We actually believe that when they die, they're going to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying any of that to say this is easy because of that, or we haven't cried endless tears, or what I'm saying is that we have had that as a gift to hold on to.
Right.
And that has been our rock, is reminding us we see the struggles that they have. We see the challenges that they have every single day. And knowing that one day is going to come and they're going to be healed, that's what we hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
and that's a very, obviously if you're a Christian and that is your belief, it's so, like you said, it just brings so much peace to know that one day they're going to be running and playing with no issues whatsoever. They're not going to have feeding tubes. They're not going to be having to take medicine. And then like Jeff and I have said before, if Kason dies before us, that we're like, you know what, we'll get to meet him in a completely different way than how we know him now. And, and we've just, in the last couple of days, a lot of comments we've gotten are from parents that are way older than us that are,
they've been doing this for, one person said they've been doing, she talked about her aunt who was 94 and had been doing this for 65 years.
And
they
just passed. So concerned of what's going to happen to this adult that functions as a 2-year-old, and it's a huge burden on so many parents because there's not a lot of places and help for them to go. And if you don't have family, I didn't even know how to respond to some of these comments because it was so heartbreaking.
Well, I think one of the things that you said about, you want to tell people, hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to find those days. You're built for this. The reality is, because another comment we have been getting our whole lives is, oh my gosh, I could never do what you're doing. And we always say, look, you shouldn't sell yourself short because you're really not, you don't know what you can do until you're forced to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing about your situation. Because here I am in a similar, I guess, situation. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do that. But the reality is you do what you have to do because they're your kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching Specialness. We really appreciate you taking time to watch our podcast, and we hope it's helping you out. If you could do us a favor and subscribe, it would really help us a lot to grow our community. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because something that I've learned over the years is that I used to always look at other people's circumstance and be like, what is wrong with them? Like, why can't they just get it together? This thing they're dealing with isn't very hard. I'm over here with 2 kids with a fatal disorder and all these challenges and limited nursing and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But then I realized something. I realized that hard stuff or suffering, whatever you want to call it, the more that you go through that, it builds the muscle to deal with more.
Yes.
And so I feel like that's why when people hear my story and I bring out the silver platter of suffering, which is what I call it, which we haven't even filled the platter
we're
yet.
getting there. We're getting there. Yeah.
But it's like, it feels like too much on their plate. But that's because they just haven't built the muscle the way that I have.
Yeah.
Not because I'm better.
Right.
But because I've been walking through this. And you guys know that.
Yeah,
that's, you built the muscle of suffering.
Yeah.
And
that's a very
stuff.
good analogy because, I mean, people say that to us all the time. And we're like, well, we've been at it for almost 25 years, and but if we were given Kaysen today at 25 years old and we had been living a life of, quote, freedom and canoeing on weekends with our coffee and doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know how we would have.
Awesome,
it does sound awesome. But we wouldn't be able to handle it. Like, but that's a great way to say it. Like, we've strengthened ourselves over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a perfect time to kind of get into where you have now come to, because, you've started the Hazelnut Movement. You've written books. And one of the things that when we spoke before about doing this, one of the things that I think I shared with you is that we started this podcast primarily as our own kind of therapy. It wasn't really intended, at least when we started it, our thinking wasn't that we were eventually maybe going to build a community to support people like us, but we really were just doing it because we just felt we had to get it out.
And it was
especially you. Kim I think Kim said she thought she might want to write a book, and I said, yeah, but you don't like to write that much. But a podcast would allow you to kind of get it all out there, and we could figure it out from there. And I know that from what you have said, your road to recovery, your road to finding your joy and acceptance kind of started similarly in that you just...
started on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And I just started sharing my story. And it was really, I'll share a little bit more about that, but it was really interesting because my husband, who's a paramedic and a forever student, by the way, if you are a first responder wife, you know, comes home one day from a college class and he has this book and he's telling me about this book that he had to read. And it was about the power of like writing and how writing heals you. And I was like, that is why I have a smile on my face, because every single day for 8 years, I have not written my story, but I've spoken it verbally. And I feel like it's been the biggest gift to me because it has helped me process. And I think that's why people have followed me so long, and I have so many people who came from Facebook. And then when I started TikTok and whatever, who are like, I've followed you from the beginning, and to watch the transformation. Because when I started social media, I knew nothing about social media. I had never posted other than like, here's my family photo.
Right.
Casual
but
Facebooker.
I just started,
right.
I just started messy. And I cried on video. I shared the grief. And over the years, people have told me this one thing that yesterday, when I was interviewed by the lady from NBC with the Today Show, she said the same thing. And I don't know, but this is just the thing that people say when they hear me speak. She said, you have this ability to put into words the grief that's been in my head for years. And now I understand it. And I think me sharing my story on social media has healed me. And that's been selfish. But the reason why I keep sharing it is because when we realize as human beings that we're not alone in our suffering, there is healing that happens. And that's why, because so many people just have all this grief and this suffering and this hard stuff, and it's in their mind and they cannot articulate it. And then they hear someone like you guys or me speak it out loud. And in a minute, the lie they've been believing, which is a lie that will keep you in bed, depressed, anxious, that you are the only one who has ever dealt with this.
Yeah, it's huge. In fact, we get comments all the time, people saying, oh my gosh, I feel heard. Like,
yes.
Or I'm glad I'm not alone.
Or I'm glad I'm not alone. Or, oh my gosh, what you just said, like a quick reel or something, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that could be my life. Like I've never heard somebody say that before, and it's just, what Jeff and I say all the time, we're like, it's so frustrating that this whole community, special needs community, and it's not just in the United States. I mean, as you know, there's people all over the world that deal with this, and the resources emotionally for the parents and the caretakers is completely lacking. Yeah. It's just not there. And like we were told a long time ago, you and Jeff just need to go to therapy. And we went one time and we walked out of there and said, that's dumb, because the lady literally said, you know what, you guys need to take a weekend for yourself and just get away. And we're like, well, who's going to take care of Case? Who's going to do this? And she just looks at us with that blank stare. And it just, we laughed it off because, I mean, we use humor a lot, but it's so...
In case you haven't picked that up.
Yeah, it's just so sad.
Us too.
Yeah, you have to have humor. But it is. I mean, just seeing these comments from people and at all different stages. Some people are like, oh, I'm only 5 years into this journey. I can't imagine doing this another 25. I can't imagine how hard and how exhausted you guys must be after 25 years or almost 25 years of doing this. And it's just, it's heartbreaking to me that there's just not that support there.
I don't know. It sounds like it energized you as well, though, right? Getting those comments about not the comments of, oh my gosh, I feel sorry for you. It was the comments of, I can relate, or I'm glad I'm not alone. That helped. Yeah. I know that helped us. I mean, that had to have given you some strength too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are the comments that have kept me going over the years, is just realizing that, my challenge, that's how I talk about it with the kids. My challenge has given me an incredible platform of impact, bigger than I could have ever made up on my own. And I want to use our hard stuff to encourage people that you can hold hard things and you can hold joy together.
Right.
They do not have to be separate. And it's okay to be sad and look at Hazel and be like, there's a day that I'm not going to have you here. And I don't know how I will live or wake up or get out of bed on that day. But today I have joy because your smile or our time together, or like you can hold them both. And I think the brain has a really hard time doing that. I remember when we were in the NICU feeling like I wasn't allowed to smile or laugh because I needed to this was really hard and I need to just be crying.
Plus there's other people there, and what will they think of you and their situation? And I can imagine.
Yeah. But now, my husband and I follow the same rhythm as you. You either laugh or you cry, and sometimes you do both.
Right.
And, it's a crazy ride.
It really is. And it's interesting too, because, talking about faith and things like that, people said to us, God doesn't give you, any more than you can handle and that. And I was like, I hate that, because I'm like, then he must really not like you very much, because he's not giving you any challenges.
Doesn't think much of you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's more of the fact that, I don't know, we just feel there's a reason why, a bigger reason why than just Jeff and I, that we were chosen for this journey, really. Like I said we didn't want it out loud.
It was the one thing we said we didn't think we could deal with.
Yeah, was any kind of severe mental illness. We would accept this, name it, but we just not this. And the fact that we got that plus a million other things, we laugh about it, but I think we do feel that God is like, you know what, you and Jeff and like you and your husband have something that will be able to help so many other families, that we can find the joy and we can help other families feel that joy. And like you said, tell them, you know what, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated that you're not going to ever be empty nesters, or we're getting a ton of comments about that. They're we're at the age now where most of our friends are transitioning into their kids are grown and they are empty nesters and they are getting to travel and they are going to think of retirement and stuff. And we're like, we're doing the same thing today that we did 5 and 10, 15 years ago, and our dreams have been put on hold. And it's just been a big eye opener to both of us that we were given this platform for a reason.
Yeah, it's incredible. The gap starts to get bigger. I feel like you guys are like the gap between what your peers and your child's peers as they grow just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the differences get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And
that's when you really notice those missed milestones.
Right. That's when you notice those missed milestones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I just mentioned in a comment the other day, I was like, and that's where the grief really starts to come back in, because you think you've mastered it. You're like, okay, I've got this. And then a good friend of yours who has this child the same age as Kaysen got engaged or they're getting married. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like, oh, we're still reading Jack and Annie books in bed at night. It's just, it is. So that it's that ongoing cycle of grief, because we're happy. We're so happy for them, but we're sad for us at the same time, and sad for Kaysen. I mean, he doesn't know the difference, but that's why we have hope for the future that, like when we are all in heaven together, he will be happy, healed, and we'll be happy, healed too. And,
Well, we definitely want to hear more about, you have really moved into a really active advocacy role, in the last couple of years. Not that you weren't doing those things when you were writing books along the way, but you've really kind of a new commitment to getting your story out there and doing things. Tell us about the Hazelnut Movement. Tell us about the things that you're putting together now and how you're getting this story out there.
Yeah, so the Hazelnut Movement is a school program. And honestly, it started one day because I just got this idea because of my background. I spent a lot of time working in after school programs. And when I look at what we do today in the Hazelnut Movement, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I just took my giftings and my experience and I brought it into the space that my circumstance brought me into. And so it all kind of started, actually. I'll tell you that I'm going to back up and tell you the story of how the Hazelnut Movement started. So I talked about how I wrote my very first book. And after that, I just started writing. And today I've self-published like 18 books. It's ridiculous. It gets addicting. And I'm not a writer either. They're children's books. Yeah. But we had just moved to Tennessee, and I was at a barbecue, which here they call them cookouts. Okay. And I had met this lady, and she was like, I am some head special needs person in Chattanooga School District. And I was like, I don't know why, but I just looked at her and I was like, I want to come talk to your staff. And she was like, okay. And so I ended up creating a video for her team that basically just shared with them our story and then inspired them that their impact really mattered. Like the work that these educators were doing with these students really mattered. And so I got this opportunity to speak to, I think it was like 250 educators. And so many of them reached out to me. They were like, all messaging me. And this one particular educator invited me to come to her class. Now, the Hazelnut Movement was not an idea yet. I had written the books, but that was it. And I show up at this classroom, and downtown Chattanooga. And this particular teacher has t-shirts made with the Hazelnut character on them.
Oh, okay.
She has gifts for the kids, and she has set up all these classrooms for us to go and visit.
Wow.
Oh.
And when I left that day, I was like, I don't think this is just a book. I think this is going to be a program. And so it's one thing led after another, led after another. And today what we do is we go into schools, and we lead all school assemblies, and we talk about how you and I are different for a reason, and how we all have a gift and we all have a challenge. And I share the story of Hazel and Russell, and it's really incredible. You can't imagine a child's perspective to change in a 45-minute assembly, but I've seen it happen
It's what
time
makes
after
kids
time.
great. Yeah.
And what I realized, and why I'm so passionate about it, is I realized that I have this gift, and the gift is my story. And if I want kids to have compassion and understanding for kids like mine, Hazel and Russell, they're both nonverbal. Russell's in a wheelchair. They both have severe intellectual disability. Then my magic sauce to getting to compassion is our story. And that's what we do. So we tell their story, and we watch kids light up. And in an instant, things like I did our story, the Hazelnut Movement at the YMCA that I go to now regularly. And just yesterday, I was pushing Russell into the Y and holding Hazel's hand. And this little girl, like you could see her in the gym, she goes to her friend, she's like, Sarah, look, Hazel's here. And they all come running to the door and waving at Hazel. Hazel, Hazel, Hazel. That's the impact.
That's awesome.
It has completely transformed our community, making a space for kids to ask the questions that parents always say, shh.
Right.
Don't ask that.
Yeah.
Why is he in a wheelchair? Shh. And I think my superpower is kids, because my brain thinks like theirs. I don't think those are silly questions.
Right.
I think it's confusing when a kid can't talk and nobody's explained why.
Yes.
I think, and so in the Hazelnut Movement, we create spaces for that to happen. And we let kids ask her questions, and we use Hazel and Russell as an example. And one small section of the program, after we show the video where the kids get to see Hazel and Russell, which we are in the middle of creating a new video right now, which is so exciting. But we talk about specifics. Let's talk about Hazel's challenges. Let's talk about Russell's challenges. And then let's talk about some tools that they use to help them overcome that. And it's incredibly powerful, and it's addicting work, because when you see the transformation that begins to happen in these children, and they are dying for these conversations, they're dying for it. They see these kids in their school, and they're just, put in the resource room.
Right.
And no one talks about them. And a lot of the parents who are in our situation are very offended if somebody wants to try and talk about them. And so I just really feel a strong calling that is my gift, is to come into these spaces with these kids and just let them ask the questions that they might feel like are stupid, and their parents maybe are embarrassed for them to ask, and to create a safe space for them to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
Has there been any school assemblies? I'm assuming it's mostly kids, but are there any parents that ever come? Are there teachers, and how do they respond to that?
It's incredible, because my passion is the younger kids, but when we've done the program and had teachers, and I've also done middle school and high school, you can just see the impact in their eyes so much better, right? Every single age is touched by the program. Usually adults and teachers are crying and very moved. The last program I did for the summer, we usually take the summer off because
There's no school, right?
I'm still parenting two kids at this point.
Right. Yeah.
But the last program that we did was at a Boys and Girls Club, and after the program, the director came up to me and she could not stop saying, "Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for doing this work."
Well, like we were saying, it's so needed because this whole community, we just, in general, society pushes us aside. The parents, the kids, the siblings of, if you have a neurotypical child and you have a child with special needs, that is a whole nother aspect that those kids feel. They get bullied, they get made fun of. And then, I mean, our own experience, our son never wanted any kids to come in our house ever. And he never has. I mean, he's our neurotypical kid. Yeah. And he's 20 years old because it just changes them because they're friends. You know, he's friends with other neurotypical kids who they're not exposed to it. And so he's so afraid that they're going to be like judging him and looking at Kaysen. And it's just this, there's so many different aspects of what you could do to reach, I mean, even the parents of neurotypical of children, like they need it almost more than the children do because they're some of the ones that say some of the worst things, actually, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. One of the biggest supporters of the work that we do, because we bring in a lot of volunteers and it takes a lot of funding, it has ended up being siblings who are grown adults now who have shared, I've multiple of them who share their story about how, you know, no one understood their brother or sister growing up. Yeah. And they wish that this was around when they were a kid.
Yes.
That's got to be very rewarding.
Yes.
Julia.
Yeah. It is because it's a.
And now there's a nonprofit that kind of is a companionship to what you do. Is that an affiliation? Is that a partnership? How does that work?
So we work in partnership with another nonprofit called Luke 14 Ministries, and they do disability ministry. So our family's actually heading off to camp with them in like 2 weeks. Oh. They run family camps, very similar if you've ever heard of like Johnny and Friends.
Yeah. Our church is real big into that.
Yeah. So it's the same. It started with Johnny and Friends, actually. So they do camp. They bring wheelchairs to Kenya. And they throw a Luke 14 party every year. And so it's pretty fun.
That's neat.
So now you're actively working to get kind of out there on the speaking circuit now too, right?
Yeah. So what I've realized is that I love doing school programs. And that is a huge focus of mine. And that is, what the Hazelnut Movement does. But I also know the impact that I can have in sharing my story with other moms. Yeah. And I also know that special needs mom or not, we all share something and it's called grief. Because all of my friends who have typical kids also have that grief. It just looks different.
Right.
And so I do keynote speaking and share my story and inspire people. Really, the main message that is always at the end of everything I do is that, you can hold joy and suffering together. And sometimes your greatest impact comes from the root of your deepest suffering.
Yes.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah, it is.
So what is the what is your keynote? What's the title of your keynote?
So my current keynote is called Your Story Matters. And I talk a lot about the power, like we've talked in this podcast, the power of storytelling and how telling our story not only helps other people, like if you're watching this podcast, you can let us know in the comments, has this helped you feel less alone, or in any way. But I just really believe that there's power in telling your story to help other people, but also to help yourself heal. And I talk a lot about, sometimes when I say that, people are like, yeah, nice for you because you're standing on stage and speaking to thousands of people and that's your superpower. But I really, when I say storytelling, I'm talking about the person sitting next to you on the bus or at the grocery store line or the mom at the PTO meeting with you. I really feel like, I had somebody walk into my house the other day and she was in tears and she was going through something really hard. She's been struggling with addiction. And it just so happened to be that there was somebody else here who had walked in her shoes. And it was this amazing moment because I don't have that story. That's not my story. But this other person did. Mm-hmm. And she got to rise up and share her story with this just woman who was really struggling and remind her she wasn't alone. And I just really believe that we all have that. Most of us are too afraid to talk about it.
Yes.
Whether it was abuse when we were a child, having a broken family. My story goes on and on and on. My house burnt down when I was 4. My dad moved out when I was 5. There's so many aspects to our story, but the hard parts of our story, it's the diving board to our impact. And so that's what people walk away with, seeing, really realizing what are those hard parts of my story that I've, one, been resistant to sharing. But number 2, thinking, how and who can I share that with to help them? Because that is how you heal. And that's what you guys are experiencing. And that's what I've experienced is how we heal is when we take our pain and we use it to help other people.
Yes.
And you don't have to be raising 2 kids with a disability or, or gone through cancer or whatever. You don't have to have some major story. Maybe you had an abortion and that's really haunted you.
Right. And because you never know, it is. You never know who if you just meet somebody, on the bus or in the pizza line or whatever, and you just start talking to somebody, you don't know. Maybe God placed you there for a reason. Maybe that person, you have to say something, and you could just start talking. And before you know it, they're like, oh my gosh, I have a special needs or whatever the situation may be, like he's cancer or whatever. And like you said, every one of us has pain and grief, and we keep it in a lot of times, and we just don't realize by just talking and opening yourself up how much you can help somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I know that from the comments we've gotten, people have appreciated how open we have been, and I know that you have been a big inspiration to people, Julia. You've been on I would say that the last 9 years of your life would make for a tremendous Meryl Streep project. And you've still got some tough years ahead of you. So as we kind of close this up, you've got these plans to advocate. You've got a message to put out there. You're passionate about it, but there's some tough days coming. So what would you like to leave for everyone who's watching this or might hear this about how they're dealing with things as they know their future is not going to get necessarily easier for them? What would you leave them with?
I think there's 2 parts to what I'm calling hard, and it's the physical part and the emotional, mental part. And the physical part for me is hard. I have a 6-year-old who can't walk, who's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And a very strong 9-year-old whose brain doesn't cope. And that physical hard is a lot. The mental hard is the part that you can control. And I guess what I would say is the biggest thing that I have done that has helped me in my journey is to work on my mind, to work on focusing on gratitude. I could wake up every single day. And some days, even now, I wake up and that big cloud is over my head. And I have struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. I still do. But even though I wake up every single day and I tell myself what I am thankful for, I look out and I think, this is the life that I always dreamt of. It just looks different. And the reason why I want to bring this part up is because our mind lies to us and we miss the joy so much. And then we look back and we see it, but I don't want to miss it. Like, I am living in this, what feels like to an outsider, a ticking time bomb. A lot of these kids, the way that they die is they go to bed and they're fine and they have a major organ failure and they do not wake up. I don't know what my child's, either of them, what their last day is going to look like. But what I do know is I want to be the best I can be every day they are alive. And the only thing I can do to impact that, I can't take away the challenge of having to lift Russell up and down the stairs and dealing with behaviors, and I can bring in support and all those things. But what I can change is me, and I can reorient my brain. And that's been the hardest part. It honestly is so hard. I'm not a professional, but practicing just, being present with them and not living in so much of the grief all the time. Because I can do that. I can live in like, this is really hard and this really sucks. And like, I don't have this and I don't have this. And my kid's not getting invited over for a sleepover or a play date all summer, or getting invited to this camp, or all these things. But with just a shift of gratitude and thinking of the things, like the opportunities that God has given me because of my kid's disability, and the lives that have been impacted, and the joy. I made a post just the other day about Hazel, and I was serious. It was the first time I'd thought of this, but I'm like, I think Hazel has the best life of anyone I know. She's not the problem. It's me. My grief is the problem. And that is up here. It's in our mind. And so what I can do as a mom is work on that.
Yes.
Work on bettering myself and reminding myself of the joy that is already in front of me and what is to come. And then my husband and I always say this, like, if we've done 1 year of marriage, we can do one more. If we've done this for 9 years, we could do 9 more. We don't know. We don't know how many days we have, but every day feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Every day I'm like, I can't do enough. I mean, by about 8:30 a.m., I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
But if I've done one day, I can do one more.
I love that you said that when you were thinking that Hazel has the best life, and we kind of say that too, because Kaysen, they're unaware, like they don't understand it. He is happy in his life.
What makes him happy is so simple.
Right.
Yes.
It is. It's us. It's my mind. Yeah. It's my depression. It's my grief. I love how you said that, because it's so true. Kaysen, he is
all
so
he
happy.
needs is the Dallas Mavericks to win more than they lose. He needs a new Marvel movie every now and then. New Jack and Annie book. For me to read Jack and Annie to him, and he's pretty
good
set.
Mac and cheese.
And mac and cheese, right?
Yeah.
And we make it complicated. That's a great point. Yeah. And that's good advice for anybody, I think, that's in our situation, especially when, because I do think, and I see this in a lot of comments too, people will say, and I know we can all relate to this, hey, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And you can either choose to look at that as, well, I was chosen for this, or you can look at it like, this isn't fair. And I think it's okay to feel both of those things. Yeah. But just understand that you were chosen for the journey, and the responsibilities are unique, but they're yours. And you got to figure out how to make them work, because they're your kids, and you do what you have to do.
Yeah. And I think you can play victim, and I've done it.
Sure. Yeah.
I've done it. But the payout from believing I was made for this is so much more worth it. So you can choose. This happened to me, or I was built for this. You can believe either one. But what I'm going to tell you, that the one that's going to give you the most power and peace and joy is believing, just choosing to believe I was built for this.
Yes.
I don't know which one's right. I'm just saying that one has given me so much peace. And when somebody first told me that, I could have smacked him across the face.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's a mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's really helped me.
It's easy to play victim, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it's okay. We need to make sure people understand.
You've
it's okay to feel that.
Give yourself some
yes.
time to feel sorry for yourself from time to time.
And some days, I mean, you might be, or for a long stretch of time, you might be positive and I've got this. And then you have a day that just, you have to cry. You have to have that day, and that's okay. But I love the idea that we have to be in control of our own thoughts and our emotions and be like, okay, we can choose. We can cry every day, or we can find the joy.
Well, and the analogy you made about if we've been married a year, we can be married another year. One of the things that I find myself telling myself from time to time is, I just need this day to end because tomorrow's another day. You know, I just need today to be over. Yeah. Tomorrow will be better, you know, and it's hard for all of us, and we're all going through a different journey. Julia, this has been an amazing conversation. It's been, I mean, I won't speak for Kim, but I mean, I've gotten a lot out of this.
I have too.
Is there anything that we can tell people to direct them to the Hazelnut Movement? Any way that people can help you? Are you looking for people to get you school assemblies? What can we do?
Yeah, before I say that, I want to say one thing and end on that, is that don't judge yourself from where you are to where I am or anybody else. I think it's really easy to listen to a podcast like this and hear the joy in my heart and your guys' peace that you have and feel less than because we're not there yet, but we are all at a different chapter in our journey. Absolutely. And I just want to remind people who are listening that I'm at chapter 9 years in. Okay. You guys are at chapter 20 something.
24,
I don't know.
24.
And we don't 24, and we don't know how many chapters we're going to get. Nobody does. Even though your child doesn't have a disorder that says it's going to limit his life, it could. Nobody knows. Right. No one knows their last day. So don't judge yourself. I think that there's no wrong place to be. And I think it's okay to feel the grief. Like, you have to feel it to get through it. And there is no shortcut.
Right.
I was desperate for a shortcut for so many years.
Yeah.
And there's no shortcut. So if you guys want to learn more about what we're doing or follow on social media, you can just look up Julia Erman, Erman. We are super searchable on Google, all the social media platforms, or you can just search the Hazelnut Movement. It's all very searchable, and I'm sure you'll put links below. But yeah, we're looking for schools. We're really, really looking for schools that want to invest long term. We believe this is not a one-time conversation, and we're looking for schools that really care. You know, I think visited 25 schools so far in 5 different states in 2 years.
You've gotten out of Tennessee. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it's clear that this isn't the heart of every school. And those aren't the schools that we need to go to. But we want to look for schools that are really committed to building a culture where different doesn't mean less. And, you know, if you're a parent, reach out to me. We're putting together packets that parents can send to their administrators to introduce them to the program.
That's great.
It doesn't matter where you live. We travel, but we're booking, and we do feel fast because our capacity at this point is not super, super big. So we're booking school programs.
Although you and I had some discussions about, there's some ideas on how you might be able to scale it in the future too. So
yes. Yeah. Yep. That's coming soon. Yeah. And then if you have a women's group or a church, or you are an educator and you're an administrator and you're looking for someone to come and inspire your group of people, I would love the opportunity to come and speak and share my story. So I think those are the two big takeaways. But yeah, just look us up. If you watch this and you go find me on Facebook or Instagram, just send me a message and say, hey, I found you from this podcast. Because I love that. I love just knowing where people come from, mm-hmm. and I like connecting with real faces, just like you guys do too. I'm not just a social media platform that is managed by somebody else who's way out here.
You're an accessible celebrity speaker.
That's right.
Is what you are.
I do it for the impact, and I like connecting with real people, and yeah.
Well, the tagline of our podcast is that it's real people, real stories with unreal problems, and mm-hmm. I think that's exactly. I think we share the same sentiment here. This is really about trying to be there for our community and trying to. You said the same. A thing that we always say, we're not experts. We're not social workers or doctors or therapists. I'm not a certified coach.
Right.
I mean, we just are experts on our lives. And if anything that we can share helps somebody, then that's what we're hoping to do. But Julia, it has been such a pleasure to have you on. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Certainly, we're going to keep an eye on you and make sure that you're getting a lot of assemblies. We've got to get you here to Texas.
We do.
That's for sure.
Yes. I would love to come.
Texas could use it. But
let me just tell you, every state could use it.
Yes, they could.
Well, that's for sure. Julia, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this very special episode of Specialness. We'll be back next week, probably breaking down some of this amazing interview.
Right.
There's a lot of nuggets here from Julia that I think we can all take to heart. Until then, thanks. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kim.
And this is Specialness.